Yes, people, what's going on? Welcome back to Football Therapy with me, your host, Jan. I hope you're doing well. I really do hope that. Welcome back to Chelsea News. Today we're talking about Chelsea making a new hire. We're not going to a small Premier League club called Brighton. This time, we're going to Brentford. Ugh. We'll also reflect on Mauricio Pochettino's quotes about everyone booing him and are the team playing well. We're going to get through this together, my friends. Shout out to the London is Blue podcast, my American friends. I jumped on their latest episode, the Brentford Review. It's an excellent podcast. It's a lot of fun. Go search it on your podcast apps. In the meantime, I want to thank you for joining me here on Football Therapy. If you want to show your sweet love and support, you are most certainly welcome to, simply by dropping a like on the video, subscribing if you want to, hitting the bell if you choose to, and with that said, let's get into it. Let's start off then with a quote from Big Pochettino from Ben Jacobs, of course, CBS reporter. So Mauricio Pochettino said this on being booed by Chelsea fans. Quote, "I think the performances have been very good. That's my message. If fans want to listen, perfect. If not, what can I do? They'll keep booing, I'll keep giving my best to this team. But we can't blame the fans. They need to show their frustration. I prefer it's through me rather than the team. Players need to feel backed by the fans, to be honest. I prefer that I get the blame and the players to be free on the pitch. I don't care. I am strong. I am 52. Strong Pochettino. Look, mate, I'll tell you something. I think the majority of Chelsea fans at the moment are blaming you, and they're not blaming the players on the pitch. I do think the players on the pitch are often at fault, but I don't think it actually is their fault, if that makes sense. I mean, they're just young, inexperienced, immature players that will take time to settle and maybe still aren't compatible with each other. You know, we don't know if the sporting directors at Chelsea have done a good job long term. We won't actually know until a few years' time. But for the moment, you know, they don't look like a perfect fit. So that's kind of like the fault of the players-ish, but not their fault. Am I making sense? Look, man, you'll be hard-pressed to find a Chelsea fan right now that will say to you, yeah, man, Pochettino's doing an excellent job at Chelsea. You simply won't find one. At most, you might find some fans saying, you know what, it's a really difficult job. We've shown progression in certain aspects of how we play comparatively to last season, and the players like him, and he seems to be resilient, so maybe he will come good. That is probably the glass half full moment for Chelsea. If you go across social media, and I recommend that generally you don't, you will see the mood right now is incredibly negative for all Chelsea fans. Personally, I don't go on Twitter, or I try not to. I stay off X because I feel like it's a kind of just a cesspit of toxic and negative opinions being swapped around and then amplified. And I'm a sweet, sensitive boy. I simply don't need that in my life. But enough about me being a sweet boy. Let's talk about Poch then. Look, he's not going to get canned. David Ornstein recently came out and confirmed, look, he's not about to be sacked as far as I'm concerned. In fact, it's quite the opposite. The ownership of the footballing directors still would like him to become a long-term success and iron out whatever's going wrong at the moment and maybe make a couple of additions to make it correct long-term and, you know, their perspective that the team is together and can still have scope for healing whatever the problem is and, you know, developing as a team together as they literally grow older and just become more used to each other, I guess, if that makes sense. Guys, I know it's not the most stimulating piece of news right now, but the truth is, what are the other options? Who's going to come in to this Chelsea team with this current setup that may come good? I don't want to be wholly negative here. It may all come good, and in theory, it's still all a sensible structure. But yes, let's not be silly here. It's massively underachieving. A cup final is good, and a couple of kicks away from winning that trophy, fine. But the truth is, your level as a team is measured by how you perform in the league. I'm sorry, the Premier League's the hardest league in the world, and if you want to be a big boy club, you got to do well in the league. And when you don't have European football, and you've got more time to train with these young players, you should not be in the bottom half of the Premier League table in March. Oh my God! Say it like that! That's the sobering moment. My blood pressure's going up. We're in March, and we're in the bottom half of the Premier League table. I'm okay. I'm not okay, actually. That sucks. This needs to get better. But it might do. Who knows? We might get a few wins. We might win the FA Cup. I don't know, man. Football's a funny old game. It changes very, very quickly, right? A few wins and you could be like, what were we all talking about? You know, what were we, a few tough results and we're all going mental. But yeah, there are definitely causes for concern. Let's just back the team. I understand, understandably, the very patient match-going fan base of Chelsea. Yes, of course I understand why they turned at Brentford. But we'll see what happens. Maybe, a couple of wins, the mood gets better again, and we'll go from there. But, Pochettino from the entire Chelsea fan base is absolutely on fraud watch. Make no bones about it. And the whole Spurs link suddenly coming up again. Anyway, I wanted to reflect on those comments. Do let me know what you think about Pochettino, though I think I probably know what most of you think anyway, but express yourselves down in the comment section below, and we're going to move over now and speak about this article from Matt Law talking about a new potential acquisition. Baby, baby, baby. Chelsea have identified Brentford guru Bernardo Cueva as one of their targets to work in the club's new set-piece department. So, the Telegraph Sport exclusively revealed last Friday that Chelsea are going to recruit a set-piece specialist to work with the newly created club-wide department. And Cueva is understood to be one of the men on the radar of Chelsea, who believe their opponents last Saturday, Brentford, are one of the best examples of maximising set-pieces. Cueva's official title at Brentford is Tactical Statistician, which includes responsibility for set pieces and will often shout instructions to the players from the technical area. He was booked during Brentford's victory at Stamford Bridge earlier this season below. Right, and let's talk about this a little bit and just pause there. Chelsea looking to a smaller Premier League club using their data analysis going, yeah, these guys can make us better. Of course, I'm sure there's good individuals in other clubs that would make Chelsea better, but that's probably like the set piece specialist at Arsenal. And he ain't leaving Arsenal for Chelsea. So you go back to the well, which is either Brighton or apparently now Brentford as well. Personally, I do have reservations about this approach from Chelsea, and as more and more acquisitions happen down the line, I do wonder what we're doing, but I understand how it would be tempting for, someone who works at a Brentford or a Brighton to leave and come to Chelsea. Even if we remain a mid-table club at the moment, it's still a big money move and like a career jump, innit? Let's read on. Born in Mexico, Cueva was previously strategic analysis manager at Club Deportivo Guadalajara? Known as Chivas, before he moved to the UK in September 2020. While it is not known whether there has been an approach or any talks yet, Brentford are used to having their set-piece specialist poached, having seen Nicolas Jova, who went to Man City and then Arsenal, Gianni Vio, who worked with Antonio Conte at Spurs, and Andreas Georgsson, who worked with Arsenal and Malmo, all depart. I mean, okay, well, those destinations are pretty good, and they say certainly Man City and Arsenal seem to be doing well on set pieces, especially Arsenal, so maybe Brentford are the place to go for these kind of guys. Or are they? Brentford have been one of the most effective and innovative teams at set pieces for some time. Alright then. While Aston Villa have a set-piece specialist and Nottingham Forest employed one at the end of last year, injuries have impacted Brentford's statistics this season, but only Arsenal and Man City have conceded fewer goals from set pieces than Thomas Frank's team before last weekend's game, although Chelsea scored 2 more from set pieces than the Bees. Chelsea say Pochettino has been involved in the process of creating a set-piece department, despite sources saying otherwise, and the head coach dismissing the importance of specialists last month. The Pochettino declared that, quote, football belongs to the players, not the specialists, and suggested the club should look into the summer transfer market to improve their set-piece record. Yeah, he goes on to talk about Ben Chilwell's okay at taking set pieces. He also talks about West Ham signing Ward-Prowse, how they got better. There's an interesting story there, a few days ago going around the headlines. I'm not sure if I spoke about it or not, but it basically inferred that Pochettino was going, no, we don't need a set piece specialist. It's on the players, like, bun that, bruv, we don't want it. And then Chelsea go above his head and sign set-piece specialists, or are looking to do so. Now, that is can either mean 2 things. 1, that Pochettino's come around and said, alright, if you want to do it, I'll do it. Or 2, they've said, we don't care if you want it or not, mate. Maybe you're not long for this Chelsea managerial job, and we think this is an important thing for the club to have. Now, Chelsea have stated this is not just a Chelsea men's team thing, it's for the whole club, I guess like women's team, developmental teams, and who knows, maybe it will bleed out to the satellite clubs somehow. I'm not sure if that's possible. Maybe that's just their excuse to say it's not just, for you, Pot, just for everyone. But really, it's for him because our set pieces are bad. We've scored a few set piece goals. If we can concede less, that would be great. Chelsea are hemorrhaging hemorrhaging goals at the moment, and it's just not a good look. And it's not even like we're free scoring, you know, just scoring loads of goals, because it's not like we're doing the Ange Postecoglou at Tottenham, do you know what I mean? Like, conceding a couple, but scoring 4 always scoring at least 3. We don't do that. We don't do that. And it seems very un-Chelsea to just constantly concede every game. It really does. You know, I can't think of, like, apart from these last couple of years, you know, Tuchel's Chelsea, good Tuchel's Chelsea. Granted, that was the first 12 months of his tenure. It got worse after that. But we were, like, the hardest team to play against in Europe, bro. Literally. If you look at the chances given up, Chelsea were just, like, radically ahead of everyone else in Europe. And yeah, we didn't score loads of goals, but that's fine. We won games because you couldn't score against us. Antonio Conte, yeah, talk to him about defending well. Mourinho, yeah. Even, like, I don't think we bled goals too much with Sarri. Maybe we did. Point being, Chelsea are known for being defensively resolute, and we are not that. If a set-piece specialist helps that, then to be honest, I'm all for it, man. And if Arsenal have got it and is helping them out, like, loads, which, you know, common consensus is, like, oh, aren't they doing well since they hired their set-piece specialist? Then, yes, I'll sign off on it, Chelsea, you know? It's fine, I'll allow you to do it. Even though it's another, like, data-analysed thing where we go, right, we're going to take this guy from this club, I am worried about that a little bit. I understand that's just how football works generally, but going to these smaller Premier League clubs, I have just got PTSD from Brighton. I just do, man. Of course I do. We're getting mid-table finishes every season, and we just keep going back to Brighton. I've made the, you know, the synapse connection in my head, and I've got trauma, and many of you have trauma too from this. So maybe it's slightly refreshing that it's lower down the table. It begins with B. Oh no, Brentford. Slightly different. We'll take that. Maybe we're weaning ourselves off, you know. Maybe we'll then look elsewhere. We need to sort of a gateway drug. Joking aside, it's probably intelligent. This is modern football. If you're an intelligent modern institution, you have specialists. You have, like, you know, strong departments, you have footballing sporting directors, you have appropriately constructed marketing departments and financial stuff, and Chelsea have done all of that. It's great. If I could teleport back in time 4 years and talk to early football therapy and say, don't worry mate, look at Chelsea in the future, look at all this like infrastructure we've put in, this intelligent, sensible stuff to emulate Man City, I'd be like, we're a big boy club, we're going to be good. Oh yeah, by the way, what? We finished mid-table 2 seasons in a row. Do you know what I mean? So it's all great in theory, I always say. It's just stuff I wanted, and I still do want. You know, I don't want to necessarily just go back to vibes and, 30-year-old players and high contracts to try and win more games, because it's not sustainable, and come on, there is a romance to this as well. I know it all sounds business and lame and, whatever, but if we have Enzo Fernandez and Caicedo for a decade, and they play for a decade for Chelsea, you have an opportunity to have a real connection with them, and they could become a great team for a long time. To be honest, if someone said to you, neither of them will be at Chelsea in 5 years, I'd be shocked, but I'd also be like, we're mental, doesn't surprise me. But it would be nice if a lot of these players stayed for the long term, and there was a dynasty, and then this bond was connected with the Chelsea fans, with this team that have been there forever. And then they could all think, remember when we first signed them and we were just a dysfunctional hot mess, and there was such a horrible time at the club. Yeah, well, that was just a growing pain. A teething process, Look at us now. Anyway, let me know what you think. Comment down below. Thanks for joining me today here on Football Therapy. If you enjoyed the content, let me know by liking and commenting, of course. Why not share the video with your friends? That would be nice. And yeah, hopefully see you guys back here soon. Peace.